the gym, you don't need to be going to the gym. You don't want it enough. When you're sick and tired of looking and feeling like shit, you'll show up, I'll see you there. Because you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to be like, that. You're going to want to be in the gym.
You want.
If I could go back, I'd tell younger me, you're going to do some pretty great things, but you do not need to be great. All you have to do is be yourself. That will always be enough.
I had two options. To either be that 300-pound guy who sprayed for cockroaches and made $1,000 a month, and at 24 years old, knowing when I'm 50 years old, I can reflect on this and think about what guy I never became, or I can totally just sack it up and fail and fail and fail until I succeed.
Hey, look, let me guess. New year, new you, right? New year, new you. You've been saying that every year, but it's always new year, same you. You know, I just don't understand why you go every year remaining the same when the person that you are today has just been destroying your life. You're mentally killing yourself every year, and you don't even realize it. I mean, it's time for you to look yourself in the mirror and make some change before it's too late. But if you cool with being like that, it is what it is. It's your life. Be safe, though.
The main reason you need to go all in is because you have nothing to lose, bro.
I'm calm today.
When you think about it, and we know that if somebody else is all in and you only have half of your foot in to the water and you're not ready to jump, that guy's gonna beat you every single time.
You pan it down here, you see it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's not a car or a person in sight. If you pan over here, it's the same thing. Not a car or a person in sight. People want to know where I find my strength at, where I get my strength. I get it from a lot of places, but right now, this morning, I'm getting it from, there's not a motherfucker that's up. There's not a car, there's not a person. Everybody's in their bed, sleep, dreading that it's a Monday, hate it's a Monday. And I'm loving it. I'm loving that. Where everybody's getting weaker, I'm getting stronger. It's not about the running, the swimming, the push-ups, the sit-ups. It's about what those things do for your mentality.
You don't start things and not finish it. You don't quit. There's nothing that comes out of quitting besides knowing that you didn't finish. We finish everything. You start it, finish it. If you're gonna do it to try and be the best.
Let me be very clear. I will never give up. Never.
The life you want is on the other side of a few hard conversations, and you're living a life you hate because you're too afraid to have them.
Every morning I woke up, I had a real conversation with that dirty mirror. And every day, the same answer came back to me. Do you want to be on your deathbed knowing that you could, but you didn't?
For anyone who needs a reminder, no one is going to hate on you for doing worse than them.
Let those challenges raise you up. Let them elevate you. Let their demands and their trials make you stronger. Let the adversity you face today turn you into a better person tomorrow.
That's at the end, not in the middle. And that's something I always live by. You know, I'm not going to rest. I'm going to keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go, right? And you just continue to build that way. So I try to live by that all the time.
Admit it, you aren't like them. You're not even close. You may occasionally dress yourself up as one of them, watch the same mindless television shows as they do, maybe even eat the same fast food sometimes. But it seems that the more you try to fit in, the more you feel like an outsider.
Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it.
Nothing's permanent. Nothing's permanent. That's why I'm always big on, you have to keep what you want to be in the front of your mind. Because you're going to always lose it within the suffering. And suffering, people always hear me say suffering, it's not just physical, man. There's so many forms of suffering out here, it's not even funny. And most of them are not physical. Most of them are psychological.
Time to become a man. Walk forward. Peripheral vision. Get it. Own yourself. walk forward with more courage and start becoming the man you want to be instead of acting like it, putting it off.
I truly believe we are all equal as human beings. If we are obsessed with something and we truly pursue our passion with everything we have, regardless of anything else, if you are obsessed, work hard, put in the time, you will succeed. And that is a philosophy that I carry, my coaches carry, and this is hard work. This is an obsession. Nothing can beat hard work.
The easiest thing in life is to give up on whatever you're focused on or whatever you're hopeful for. The hardest thing is to continue to keep going, but we have to.
You can do two things. You can run and hide, curl up in a ball, and let the world just beat you to death, or you can dig your heels in. You figure out how to, you have to figure out yourself, and then you dig in and you fight. I literally, the day we got back from Mexico, I had a quote installed on my wall. It says, "May God have mercy upon my enemies, because I won't." So let's go.
There's people out there that are just working harder than everybody else, and they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that's their grind.
You have to be crazy enough to think that it's possible. That's how you do something worthwhile. That's how you beat the odds. You have to believe it's possible. And when you believe something is possible, everything else will figure itself out.
Normal people get normal results. Weird people get weird results. You literally can't do what everyone else does and not expect to get what everyone else has. By doing what everyone else does, you guarantee average results.
You get up. You don't want to go run, you go run. You don't want to go swim, you go swim. You don't want to make your bed, you make your bed.
Most of the limitations we have do not exist in reality. They exist only in your own mind. And one of the starting points of great achievement is to start questioning those self-limiting beliefs and throw them off and act as if they did not exist.
To be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. No shortcuts. If you look at all my teammates here tonight, it would be impossible to find better examples of men who embody that work ethic, integrity, purpose, determination, and discipline that it takes to be a champion in life.
At the end of every day, you look yourself in the mirror and you ask yourself, did I get better today? If the answer is yes, and you do that for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, how much better are you going to be? Are you getting better every single day? That's the question.
Is this going to make me better? No. It goes. Is this going to help my life? No. It goes. Is this going to create a brighter future for those around me? No. It goes. And it's simple as that.
It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach, and your body is already completely exhausted from workouts in 2-a-days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle, and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again.
So many lives would transform overnight if they realized my life sucks, I have nothing going for me, really means I have nothing to lose, and that makes you a very dangerous person.
Well, why? It's dangerous out there. Yeah, no kidding. It's more dangerous here if you stay with me by a lot. So you might lose your body out there in the world, but if you stay here, you lose your soul.
Every day when you get out of bed, life's standing right there to kick you in the face, man. And you have to be ready for it, and you got to deal with it. You can't curl up into a ball, you can't run away from it, you can't hide. You have to take all this shit head on.
I mean, just sitting around dreaming someday, someday I'm going to get a different job. Someday I'm going to change this. Well, someday ain't a day of the week.
The best way to fight the demons that chase you in the night is to stop and turn around. Turn around. Face it. Man up.
Discipline your thoughts. Stop thinking too much. Don't go into the past. Don't go into the future. Be in the present.
The easiest thing in the world to do is to complain, blame, and quit and settle. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. But it takes real work to deconstruct and to reconstruct the thought process and the mindset of an individual when they're trying to change something. That's why I always say to people, what's more important, what we acquire or who we become?
It's incremental changes over the long haul, and the way you have to look at it is if these two boats are going in a parallel direction and one of them just shifts 5 degrees over the course of time, this boat is going to be in a far different place than the other boat that's going the same way it was always going.
The next year is going to go by whether you're doing something about your life or not. I mean, we're sitting here right now at the end of February, and the next 10 months are going to go by whether somebody is working to make change or whether they're not. And they may think, you know, oh my God, I'm so far overweight, I'll never get it under control, or I'm so behind in my bills, or I'm so depressed, or everything is so out of control. Well, you know what? You make those incremental changes, and then, you know, pretty soon in December you go, hey, I'm way better off than I was at the end of February. So, shit, you made little changes, and they all added up.
That's the difference between a hero and a coward. There ain't no difference. Inside, they're both exactly alike. Both scared of dying or getting hurt. But it's what the hero does that makes him a hero. What the other guy doesn't do makes him a coward.
Take yourself out your comfort zone. Do not live in your bubble. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
Most of us, we live in a box, and we don't want to go outside that box. Outside that box is all these possibilities of life. What we do is we shackle our mind. We are a prisoner in our own mind, and this is all I can do. This is all we do. And we take away the possibilities of you could be this, you could be that, you could be all these things. And I never thought at 300 pounds I could be 86. That's how I live my life. I now know that there is no cap on the human mind. There's no cap. We cap it ourselves.
When you have fear, that's a good sign. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Remember that, folks. Nothing. The more comfortable you are, the more you're probably not growing.
There's consequences that you pay to constantly seeking comfort and avoiding discomfort and avoiding hard work. And those consequences are you're never going to feel self-realized, you're never going to feel like you accomplished anything, you're never going to have this feeling of understanding that difficulty and struggle and the ability to push through that is a muscle. And you develop that muscle by doing it. And once you do, you develop a lot of self-satisfaction, and you develop peace of mind, and you understand that you can overcome obstacles. If you don't have to overcome obstacles, you never know whether or not you can.
Imagine that if you were to go a mile or less, you would walk it. Paradoxically, you would go 2 miles quicker than you would go 1 mile. And if you were to go more than a mile, you would drive it. So for instance, the friend that should leave his job, but it's just about passable, his boss isn't that much of a dick. The person that stays in an apartment that's got some mold on the ceiling, but it's not too much mold and whatever. All of these people would be better off if their situations were worse, because it would galvanize them into actually doing something. Things are good, great, no problem. If things are bad, great, activation energy to go and make them good. If things are just about passable, you end up being comfortably numb. The fact that something seems impossible shouldn't be a reason to not pursue it. That's exactly what makes it worth pursuing. Where would the courage and greatness be if success was certain and there was no risk? The only true failure is shrinking away from life's challenges.
This is when I realized I was alone on this earth. I have God alone on this earth, and I have to fix everything. So this is where I started to develop an indestructible mental toolbox. Okay. So I looked in this one guy's eyes who was ringing the bell to quit, to put his helmet down out of Navy SEAL training, and I saw myself. And I saw what everybody said I was going to be, which was nothing.
The fact of the matter is if you want to be good, you really don't have a lot of choices, because it takes what it takes. You have to do what you have to do to be successful. So you have to make the choices and decisions to have the discipline and the focus to the process of what you need to do to accomplish your goals.
You know where you want to go. You need your compelling future. You need to keep pushing forward, and you can't expect others to get your dreams, because they weren't downloaded in them. They were downloaded in you.
If you're too scared to show up and you sit back at home,
wondering what if and everything else. No one in hell is going to call you an opportunity because you weren't present. The winners always show up. They're willing to lose in order to gain. Big mental thing there, guys. This body, as great as you are, as sharp as you make the arsenal, it can't do anything if you don't have confidence in yourself. We all fall down in life. The question is, who gets back up? You go after and you give it all you have. If you lose, at least you try, man. I failed. It's 10 times more of a man than someone said, what if? Because what if never went to the arena.
Life rewards action, not intelligence. Took me a few years growing up to really learn this. I think the smarter you are, the better your excuses. The more accomplished you are in talking yourself out of taking action, in proving to yourself that every action that you could take is too small, too meaningless, and not worth it.
You decide exactly what you want, and then you start to think. Now you're going to have thoughts come to your mind of why you can't get it. You have the ability in your conscious mind to reject that idea, kick it out of your mind. Thinking of why you can't do something is never going to do you any good. And keep thinking until you start to think of thoughts of how you can do it. And the way will be shown to you. It comes in the form of images in our mind. Think of how you can and not why you can't.
Everything is determined by what you do and you trying to be your best so that you can build on positive performance. And that's the only thing. There should be nothing else.
You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt.
But maybe you could get what would really be good for you. Well, why don't you? Well, because you don't try. You don't think, okay, imagine that you were taking care of yourself like you were someone you actually cared for. And then you thought, okay, I'm caring for this person. I would like things to go as well for them as possible. What would their life have to be like in order for that to be the case? Well, people don't do that. They don't sit down and think, all right, let's figure it out. You've got a life. It's hard, obviously. It's like 3 years from now, you can have what you need. You've got to be careful about it. You can't have everything. You can have what would be good for you, but you have to figure out what it is, and then you have to aim at it.
I don't care how bad you want to quit. I don't care how bad you want to stop. Give up. Turn around. Don't do it. When you start something, you better finish it. You can achieve great things even though you think the only option is to quit. The only option is to give up or stop. You are capable of so much more. So keep getting 1% better every day and never quit. Don't stop.
I get happier about the harder it is because I know that no one else will follow.
It's a selection effect.
And I think if you can shift from this is hard to no one else will be able to do this, then it flips from being this thing that you're like, oh, poor me, to oh, poor everyone else who's going to have to try.
I want you to fail, and I want you to get up and do it again. The same thing in life is the same thing here. If you can do this, you can do anything. Anything. Right now, you're 5% away. 5% away from being a champion.
There's two things I've learned from these past 7 months. Number one is that hard work pays off. And number two is that dreams come true. And that's what's happening.
The biggest mistake a person can do right now is to give up. You might not reach the best version of yourself in this lifetime, but a better one than you are right now.
There are graveyards full of men who thought they had more time. Action waits for nobody. Progress waits for nobody. It doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you're sore. It doesn't matter if you don't want to do cardio. You do it with the motivation to begin and the discipline to endure. Victory's only a matter of time.
Just be the best version of yourself in anything that you do. You don't have to live anybody else's story. Sometimes people make it seem like you have to have certain prerequisites and a crazy life story in order to be successful in this world. But the truth is, you really don't. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you have or don't have, what you lack, what you have too much of. But all you need to have is faith in God, an undying passion for what you do and what you choose to do in this life, and a relentless drive and the will to do whatever it takes to be successful and whatever you put your mind to.
Why would God give you a vision that you couldn't achieve? Literally sit down and ask yourself that for a second. Why would he give you something that you couldn't do anything with? Now you're probably thinking to yourself that you're struggling, you can't stay consistent, you've been active, and you can't see the results and what you're actually trying to get. And I want to tell you right now that God is allowing that as well. He's putting that in your life. He's allowing it because that will turn you into the person if you learn from it.
I think once you've actually learned how to try, really try, one thing for an extended period of time, every single day, and taken all of your discretionary effort and your money and your time and your resources and put it towards just doing that thing, number one, you realize how few things you can really do well because of the amount of time that it takes. The second thing is you realize how easy it is to beat everyone else because of how few of them actually do that. And learning how to try becomes a generalizable skill across domains. So when you do learn how to play the saxophone, and if you want to pick up tennis, you think about how many sessions you did to fix your fingers and play a more advanced thing over and over again. And then when you realize that the domains are similar in terms of skill achievement, you're like, oh.
Most traders don't fail because setup looks like. You know what conditions you're waiting for, and you can measure everything else. There's a strange moment in every trader's life when you look at the charts, the same charts that used to confuse you, and suddenly they don't feel as loud anymore. The chaos begins to whisper. The noise starts to make sense. You don't know exactly when it happened, but something inside you changed. That's the moment most traders never reach. It's not marked by a huge profit or a perfect setup. It's marked by silence. The silence that tells you you're no longer trading like the 93%. You're beginning to think, act, and feel like the 7% who last. I've seen it countless times, traders who chase, panic, and burn out. And then, one day, something clicks. Their trading stops being emotional and starts becoming intentional. Their focus shifts from chasing profits to mastering behavior. That's when you know you're finally crossing over. You're becoming a profitable trader. And that's what we're going to uncover here. 5 subtle signs that reveal you're finally on that path. They won't show up in your bank account first. They'll show up in your mindset, your habits, and the way you respond to the market. The first sign is this. You no longer trade for excitement. You trade for clarity. When I started, I thought trading was about action. I believed the more I did, the faster I'd grow. Every tick of the tape felt like a test. Every candle a decision. But I was wrong. Because the market doesn't reward activity, it rewards discipline. The moment you stop feeling that constant urge to do something, to buy, to sell, to not miss out, that's when you begin to understand what trading really is. It's not a game of constant motion. It's a game of patience. You start checking charts less often. You no longer stare at every tick. You find yourself at peace, not because the market is calm, but because you are. That's the quiet shift that separates traders who chase from traders who endure. I once said, it was never my thinking that made the big money. It was always my sitting. And that wasn't about laziness, it was about control. Control over your impulses, your fear, your greed. You stop trying to outsmart the market and start learning to wait for it. That's the discipline of sitting still while the rest of the world is panicking for an entry. The second sign you're becoming a profitable trader is that you start to view losses differently. Losses no longer sting the way they used to. They no longer define your identity. You stop taking them personally because you finally understand a loss isn't failure. It's feedback. Every loss teaches you something about yourself, your system, or your discipline. And that lesson is worth more than any short-term win. In my early years, a single red trade would ruin my day. I'd chase the next one, trying to make it back. But the market doesn't care about your emotions, it only respects your behavior. So I stopped asking, why did I lose? And started asking, did I follow my plan? That's the mindset shift that builds consistency.
When your measure of success becomes execution instead of outcome, you become untouchable, because no single trade can break you when your identity isn't tied to results. Every profitable trader I've ever met reached that stage. They stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be present. That's the key. If you're listening now and noticing that your reactions are calmer, your patience longer, your focus sharper, that's not coincidence. That's evolution. You're beginning to trade with intention, not emotion. The third sign is subtle, but it's powerful. You start to trust your own judgment. Early on, traders jump from one strategy to another. They doubt every decision.
Okay, great. Wait, were you even listening? You haven't taken a single note this entire meeting?
They
Come on, Bruno. Outside.
On the wall?
No, just like this. Come on. Come on, Bruno. Come. Outside.
second guess every setup. But over time, after enough data, reflection, and pain, you begin to hear your own intuition again. Not emotion intuition. You've seen the market's tricks enough times that you don't fall for them anymore. You start following your own system even when it's boring, even when it's slow because you've seen the truth. Boring trading is profitable trading. That's how you know you're getting close. When the thrill fades, and clarity replaces excitement. When your best trades feel calm, not chaotic. When your peace of mind means more than a quick profit. That's when you're becoming a real trader. Because the truth is, the market tests everyone. It tests your ego, your patience, your identity. And most people fail not because they lack skill, but because they lack control. So, when you find yourself becoming quieter, more disciplined, less reactive, celebrate that. It's a sign of progress most traders never reach. Before we move on to the next part, I want to ask you something. We've built a community of traders who want to grow, who think deeper, and who refuse to give up. So tell us in the comments, what do you love most about these videos? What's the one thing that helps you the most? And what's the biggest struggle you're facing in your trading journey right now? Your answers help shape the lessons we create next. Because this isn't just my story, it's yours too. And if this message speaks to you, if you see yourself in these words, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and check out the other Livermore stories on this channel like The Secret to Mastering Trading Patience and
that for me.
Okay, if you're a marketing agency, you know what I'm talking about. You know that moment when someone asks how your business is going, and you're like, yeah, it's great, we're growing, but in your head, you're like, oh, I'm actually drowning, I'm doing everything, I haven't really had a real day off in months, and I have
Meetings, I do that for businesses in general when you start zooming out. And so that process of do a lot of volume, then look at the outcomes that were good, look at the activities that led to those outcomes that are positive, do more of those activities, look at the bottom percentages, look at the things that led to not having that happen, and do less of those. And if you're younger, and this is specific for everyone who's listening to this video, if you're probably sub 30, sub 28, maybe, right? If you're in your 20s or less, you can probably get away with this, which is that people ahead of you are more willing, believe it or not, to feel like they have status. So you can give them status by saying, be a mentor. And the thing is, a lot of young guys have a lot of ego, right? Because you're trying to prove yourself, trying to be a man, whatever. The thing is that if you humble yourself, it's not like there's some fucking massive scoreboard where it's like who humbled themselves to whom across the whole US. It not exist. It's just within one dynamic, right? And so if you go and say, hey, I don't know anything, I'm happy to learn. If you do that, then a lot of people are like, oh, well, he humbled himself. Well, yeah, I'm happy to teach you. And the thing is they'll give you advice that's worth thousands of dollars, years of your life for free. If you just say, you're better than I am at this. But the thing is that at the end of the day, none of it matters, but scoreboard would be the thing that matters in business, right? And so the only thing that precedes the scoreboard is your learning. I've spent ego points, I've spent dollars, I've spent time, I've spent social capital, I spent every resource that I had to get more learning faster. Because fundamentally, the only thing, and I think this is probably one of the biggest gifts my father gave me, is believing that I am the asset I am investing in. And the cool thing is that you are the permanent hold, right? You can't sell you. Like, you're you until you die. And so this is the one asset you've got because you compound. Skills compound. When you get really good at sales and really good at finance, guess what? You can raise $1 billion because you know how the finance world works and you know how the sales world works, right? If you know how to code and market, then guess what? You can build software and sell it to gazillions of people because you have the product and the acquisition. Like, skills stack disproportionately. If you only know one, you might not be able to make a tenth as much as if you know two. Now, obviously, those are big bucketed terms that have many, many, many skills underneath of them. But fundamentally, when you think about it that way, you become a weapon. Real quick, I have a gift for you. This is the $100 million scaling roadmap. It's something that my team and I put 200. What we did was recruiting gift. Well, I'll talk but if that's part. And so let's page, you can book a call, no pressure. This is a gift either way. It's absolutely free. So let's tackle the second part. I said you can solve a lot of male problems by getting in shape and making money. And so let's talk about the getting in shape side. So you can avoid tons of problems in life by doing one thing, going to bed on time. And so instead of setting alarms to wake up, set alarms to go to sleep on time. It's hard to wake up late when you go to bed at 9. Right? And so the thing is that one simple behavior actually can eliminate a lot of the things that derail men, especially young men. And so Charlie Munger talks about this a lot, which is like, all I want to do is find out where I'm going to die and never go there. The whole point is he thought so much more about avoiding stupidity than trying to be intelligent. It's kind of like the stupidities are very easy to identify, the intelligence is hard. But if you avoid all stupidity, you just become intelligent by default. And so if you define intelligence the way I do, which is rate of learning, so how quickly you pick things up, that is intelligence. If you can avoid all of these things that make you look like an idiot, right? Then you become more intelligent. And so let's talk about this from the getting in shape perspective. Show me a situation where you have two groups of men. One group of men that is really out of shape and fat, and another group of men that's really in shape that are going to outperform one another, and this is generalized, so you have to take random sampling of the population, a bunch of in-shape guys, a bunch of overweight guys. Who's going to do better at any task over and over again? If we pick 10 tasks that are completely different, the in-shape guys are going to do better than the out-of-shape guys. Period. They're going to have more energy. They're going to be more focused. If it's anything interrelated, like interrelation based, like those guys are going to close higher percentage. If you're better looking, you will close more. If you're better looking, you get paid more. If you're better looking, you get more promoted. If you're better looking, you do better in content. Period. Fight me. And so the thing is like if you have this one thing that affects every way that people see you, and the only thing you have to do is control what you put into your mouth, then don't you think it's worth developing that most basic skill of discipline at this point in your life? Because the thing is that you want to get in shape young, because if you're not in shape, guess whose fault that is? So get in shape now. Thing is it costs time, not money. And right now, you've got time and not money. And time only becomes more expensive as you age. So buy it now while time costs you the least and you have the fewest responsibilities. It'll help you no matter what life path you choose. The thing that no one recognizes is that drinking costs you 2 days. The day you drink and the day you recover. And sometimes the weeks afterwards for the stupid thing you did while you were drunk that everyone else saw. It reminds me of this quote from Muhammad Ali, and I asked my team to pull it up because I think it's so good, also because he was the greatest of all time and just a cool dude.
What's the central part of your training? Is it running? Is it sparring? Or
Central part is dodging the nightclubs and the parties and the girls. You want the truth? And being in the bed by yourself 9 o'clock at night. And if you can get by that, you'll make it. Man, that's the truth. Now, I'll tell you the truth. You talk all that running and hitting the bags and jogging and biting when you want. Dodging ladies is the main thing. Especially when you're pretty like me.
And I'll speak to myself personally. When I had my intense periods of work, I would take off for a long, long time. So the longest that I took off was 2 years while I was scaling Gym Launch from, the 20 months we went from 0 to 4.5 million a month, 4.4 to be technical. I didn't drink that whole period. And once things settled out, I was like, all right, I'm willing to drink again. And right now, acquisition.com is scaling like crazy. And so Layla and I both said, let's just stop drinking for the foreseeable. Then same thing now. So that was when I was in my 20s. This is now when I'm in my 30s. And I'll probably continue this until I feel like I'm at a place where things feel chill again. And then like maybe I'll partake again. But the thing is like if you're hungry, argue me the opposite, which is me drinking more will make it more likely for me to hit my goals. I think you'd have a tough time making that argument. And so right now, everything's compounding is amplified, right? The stuff you do now amplifies throughout your career and your life. And so I would want to stack as many advantages as I can to my favor, which is like, I'm going to go to sleep on time. I'm going to not drink, right? I'm going to get in shape, right? I'm going to do as many repetitions as I can. I'm going to humble myself with people who are more experienced than I am, even if I think I'm smarter than them. They still know more. And there's a big difference, and this is what I think is really tough for younger guys, is that your brain at 25 to, like 25-ish, 25 to 30 is like peak processing power. But I'm way fucking smarter now than I was then because I've still learned more. And that's the thing is that you may be smarter than someone in sheer processing power, but they still might know more than you. And so you can't live their life. And especially if somebody is further ahead, then it still means that they have knowledge that you don't. And so humbling yourself to somebody, even if you think you are smarter, will teach you more. Because again, argue the opposite. I will learn nothing from no one. How does that help you? It helps your ego feel good, but at some point your ego is going to have to rectify its good feeling with reality, which is that you're broke as shit and no one cares. And so I would rather humble myself rather than have the world humble me. This is a Bible quote that I just really like a lot. It's from Matthew 23:12. He said, "Those who are humble will be exalted, and whoever exalts himself will be humbled." I actually told that to one of our team the other day because I felt like his ego was getting a little bit bigger than it probably should have been. And I said, listen, man, I was like, if you want to get humbled, keep doing what you're doing. I was like, but if you want people to talk you up, I was like, humble yourself. Let your work for you. And then everyone else will exalt you. And so I think most men want to be respected. They don't have respect, and so they compensate by exalting themselves because it makes them feel better in the short term, but you look like an idiot in the long term. And think about it like this, like for some reason, I don't know why we're wired this way, but we say nice things about ourselves and we feel good, but everyone else feels bad, right? If everyone else says nice things about you, it doesn't make them feel bad to say it, but it makes you feel good. Think about those people in your life who always like talk themselves up. It's like, what do you see? You're like, this guy's so insecure. It's obvious. And you look that way. You don't feel that way, but you look that way. And some of the things that you develop as you get older is the separation between how I look and how I feel, which is like, oh, even though this feels good, I look dumb doing this. Your feelings can lie to you in terms of how well this behavior is serving you with your goals in the long term. And while we're talking about your friends exalting you and your friends saying you're cool, how much do their opinions of you really matter? Because now this is going to take a completely different direction than you expected, which is you being humble is a description that other people would give to you, but it relies on you caring a lot of what they think, which is a double-edged sword. And the younger you are, actually at all points, it hurts you. It's kind of like the stock market. One person, two person, 1 day or 2 days in the stock market, it's just about sentiment. But how big the stock goes over a decade is about how good the intrinsic stock is. And so if a few people say you're an asshole, no big deal. If everyone says you're an asshole, probably a problem, right? And so it's understanding the nuance between that. But your friend group has a disproportionate sway over your behavior. And so your reference group is one of the #1 correlations with how big your life gets, or rather, the goals you achieve. Now, they've done this studies in terms of finance because it's easy to quantify, but your reference group, the 5 people you compare yourself to, not necessarily spend the most time with, but compare yourself to, are the ones that determine your future. And so sometimes you have to like your goals more than you like your friends. And every person who wants to do something in their life or has done something with their lives is going through the exact same, you have to like your goals more than you like your friends. And every person who wants to do something in their life or has done something with their lives is going through the exact same chapter that you're going through right now. And it's the lonely chapter. It's the chapter where you don't fit in with your old friends, but you don't have the achievements yet to fit in with a new group of friends. And you're doing all this stuff, right? The fruit tutorials, you're watching these videos, and you're reading everything you can get your hands on. And you're trying to set up whatever your podcast is or your content thing, right? And you're going through it and you're thinking to yourself, like, is this even worth it? Because you're not seeing any signs of success. But the sign of success is the hate that you get along the way. It is the leading indicator. And what you can't do is bend the knee to their hate and try and fit back in and conform because it's comfortable and it's warm. It's like the scene in The Matrix when Trinity opens the door, the very beginning in the first Matrix, when Neo's about to take the red pill and he wants to get out of the car. And Trinity says, "You've been down that road, Neo. You know that road. And you know exactly where it ends. And I know that's not where you want to be." And then he closes the door and he gets back in and they go take the red pill. So right now, this moment that you're going through is Trinity opening the door and saying, you could go back. You could go party. You could go to the nightclubs. You could say that this was just a hobby. You could downplay what you're doing. Like, oh, I'm just trying it out. Oh yeah, I'm not really that into it. It's just something I found, right? But then as you're saying, you feel like a fake because you're lying to yourself. You're lying to them about what your real intentions are. And in that moment, when you're trying to think about having that conversation, you'll remember exactly why you left, why it is that road, and you know exactly where it ends, and that's not where you want to be. And the thing is that your goals will stick with you longer than these relationships. Your goals will serve you more than these relationships. And this is the stuff that no one will tell you. I can tell you personally, I talk to one friend that I have from middle school and high school. All right? I talk to one person, two people from college. And it's not like we talk all the time. I talk to him every 6 months or so. And so I say this because although these relationships feel like they're incredibly important in your life right now, they will disappear. The majority of these friendships are based on convenience. You're only friends with them because they lived in your dorm, they lived in your neighborhood, they went into English class with you. But as soon as your conditions change, you change where you're at. Many of them will fade away because you'll develop new skills, you'll develop new context, you'll meet new people who are upskilled from them. And then you'll compare them to these people. And you'll be like, man, these are better friends. These are people who are more aligned with my goals. They're trying to grow. When I want to work all day Saturday, they're like, cool, I'll work with you. Rather than being like, dude, we're going on a pontoon boat. Like, where are you going to be? And you have to accept that as the price. And the thing is, it's like, it's only if you want that. Like, if you want to live a life that is the same as everyone else's, then you can do what everyone else does. The only issue is when you want to do what everyone else does, but get what none of them have. If you want to be exceptional, by definition, you will be the exception. You will not be normal. You will be unlike the others. And so it makes sense that you would be in the out group. And it hurts as a human being because you want to be in the in group. It's part of our DNA. Shame is a real thing. And we don't want to feel that because in the natural world, if you're outside of the group, you have a much lower likelihood of living and procreating. So it's strong in our DNA to be in group. But the thing is that you're actually not. In group or out of group, you're transitioning. You're between groups. And so in that lonely chapter, That's where you can do a disproportionate amount of work because you have no distraction. So you listen to the podcast, you read the tweets, you watch the videos, you consume the content because you know deep down, I can do more than this. And you begin to see the person that you could be and realize how far you need to go to get there. But despite how far away it seems, your goals, the best version of you, you look back down the dead-end road and you know that's not where you want to be. And so you keep going and realize that there's no turning back. Once you see the promised land, once you see what you could become, you can't go back. And if you're not sure who your real friends are, one, ask, is it more likely or less likely that I hit my goals with this person in my life? Just think about it. Like, if this person is in my life, is it more likely to hit my goals? Then remove them. Because it's better to have friends who force you to grow than ones who accept you as you are. Because the biggest risk to your future isn't your future competition or your rivals. It's the distraction that you insist on keeping in your life rather than doing the things you know you should be doing but aren't. Think about it like this. Imagine a competitor that you'd never want to go against. Focused, persistent, always learning, always improving, relentless, says no to everything but that which makes them stronger. You know what he looks like, you know how he acts, you know who he associates with. Great. That's future you. Now become him. You have to kill your current self for your new self to have room to grow. And so it's this constant appraisal of your skills and activities and saying, which of these makes me stronger? Which of these makes it more likely for me to hit my goal? And I just want to give you that frame because that single frame of, is this person being in my life make it more likely or less likely that I hit my goal? Is this activity or this behavior that I do make it more or less likely that I hit my goal? And I consistently just ask that question over and over and over again. And that is because for me, I do love my goals more than I love my friends. Because my goals will be with me long after they are. And so if you think about your relationship with your goals and you put it on the same pedestal or higher than your relationship with your friends, you're going to lose one of the relationships. And the question is, which one is the one that's going to serve you more in the long term? That's a decision for you. But for me, I can tell you personally, achieving my goals has served me more than any one person has. And because achieving your goals is a generalized thing, it can open all doors to new relationships. And so you do have to burn sometimes what you have in order to have what you want. If you want to impress poor people, outspend them. If you want to impress rich people, outwork them. And I can tell you this, being in the position that I'm at, because I have tons of young men who work for me. And I mean, they hear all the content that I make and they know that. And so if you lease a Ferrari for $5,000 a month or whatever, I know you're not rich. And every rich person isn't impressed by that because we know what it costs. You only impress poor people. And if you do it really early in your career, every rich person's like, man, you should be reinvesting that to get way fucking bigger. Now, if you're like an aficionado and you want to have lots of cars, and that's like, again, that's different. It depends on the reason you're doing it. It's like, you shouldn't be cooking your own food unless you love cooking. But if you don't love cooking, then you should outsource that shit as fast as possible so that you can get your time back. It's understanding the context of this, which of course this will be taken out of context. But hopefully you watching or listening to this can at least get it. Layla and I both collectively started buying nicer things. So living in nicer places, having nicer cars. I bought my home, which was a nice house in Austin. I think it cost me $1.7 million. I bought it in cash and I bought it off 1 month's paycheck. And so I want to put that in context to like, was it a ballin' house? Totally. It was sick. I was super happy to be there. But where I lived before that cost me $1,200 a month. And so you're like, wait, 1.6, right. We spend money, but by percentage, the amount of money we spend is inconsequential. If you want to buy the toys and you want to buy that stuff, I'd say, sure, understand one, whatever you spend, you're taking away from the future. Now, there is always a point you have to balance between consumption and investment. If you never spend anything, you live your entire life and you end up with a big pile of money and you didn't enjoy any moment of that. I don't think that's the way to do it. But I do think there's a ratio there, and I think that ratio depends on you as an individual. I tend to always over-index on investment because I want to become a really great version of me, and I think that's going to cost money and it's going to cost time, and I like to be ready for those opportunities because the opportunities get bigger and have more zeros next to them, and there's no masterminds you get to at a certain level. You just do a deal with someone, and if for me to pony up for the deal might be like, hey, you got to write a check for $10 million. I'm like, all right, I got to have that ready for just like on the sidelines waiting for opportunities, right? And so the idea is being on the defensive so that you can be on the offensive. It's living far below your lifestyle so that you can more heavily invest in the growth of the business. And so your lifestyle is your competitor's opportunity. There's you and other version of you. There's bizarro you, right? And bizarre you wants to live this great lifestyle and has the Ferrari and the nicer place and whatever. But when an opportunity comes along, Bizarro doesn't have any savings because he's trying to show face, right? But the thing is that everyone he's trying to show face for hates him anyways because it looks like he's bragging. But also, they know how much he makes relatively, and they're like, God, he's got to be spending his whole paycheck. He looks irresponsible. There's zero advantage to being accurately judged. If you are strong, you want to appear weak. You want to have more money than people expect you to have. And so for me, when we did buy the Bentley, which I bought because I'll be honest, I got pressured into it. They're like, dude, come on, you make all this money, like buy something nice for yourself. And I was like, I guess people buy nice cars. So I bought a car, I bought a Bentley. And I returned it 6 months later, and I lost 20 grand on it. And I was like, this was just a complete waste of everything. Like, I just don't care at all about this. Because you only need 3 things to win. You can write this down. The balls to start, the brains to learn, and the heart to never quit. And the good news is you already have all 3. You're just not using them. Because fundamentally, if you found somebody and they started and they continue to get better and they never stopped, they would win. Just think about it from fundamental basics. Like if I said, okay, think of a person who only did one thing and all they dedicated their entire life to was doing that one thing and getting better and better at that thing. And they did it for 50 years. Do you think that person would not be incredibly successful? Of course they would be. Then why aren't you doing it? The problem is it's never been easier to start a business. It's also never been easier to do nothing at all. And this is what I mean by your distractions are the things that are getting in your way, preventing you from doing the things you already know you should be doing but aren't. Right now, if I were to say, hey, go get in shape, what do you need to do? What you want to say is, oh, I'm going to go do some research to find the best program and to find the best diet. But if I just said, no, you can't look, make a guess. What would you say? Probably like, well, I need probably like go to the gym, probably do some weights, probably do some cardio, move a little bit. Or would I say, do you want to stay at the same weight? Do you want to stay at the same cardio pace? Or do you want to move those up over time? You probably say, I want to move those up over time. I'm like, okay. And then food-wise, like, do you want to probably eat more protein and eat less shit? Probably be like, yeah. Like, well, why don't we just start there? Most of the things you need to do, you already know what to do, and you delay doing them by under the guise of having a better plan. But the reality is that your plan is always going to change as soon as you get new information. And so the point is to start, period, and learn. And it's giving yourself permission to have the humility to start a role that you know is not going to be your end game, because you just see it as one tile on the painting that's going to become the version of you that you want. It's like, I got to start at this corner. I'm going to paint this corner up because I know that this cornerstone of experience in door-to-door or cold calling or media buying, whatever, is going to be something that I can build my whole career off of. There are maybe trillions of dollars, but at least hundreds of billions of dollars that are being made and dedicated every day to getting you to do nothing. It's not a fair fight. I want to be clear. It's not a fair fight, and they're winning. And so I love this from Andy Frisell. He said, personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. And so I think, like, you want to be a fucking rebel, be excellent, and do it for you. Like, you want to stick it to the man now, just be great. Fundamentally, the point of entertainment is to get someone to pay attention to it. That's all entertainment does, is pay attention to me, right? And so that means that you're not paying attention to the thing that matters more to you in the long term. And so every dollar, every minute of attention you pay to entertainment, whether that's pouring alcohol, going out to clubs, all of social media in general, motivation porn, if you will, all of that is you not doing what you need to do to get to where you want to go. You just have to be able to do things without seeing an immediate reward. Like, if there's one meta skill that overshadows all of this, it's your ability to delay gratification, is to delay a moment of reward. That's it. Like, that's all you have to do. And in the beginning, you just have to be able to do it long enough that you get one reward. And that reward is typically outsized in its strength. And then that will reinforce you sticking with it. Because the people who do work really, really hard, it's not like they're made of different flesh and blood than you. It just means that they had a short period at some point where they said, I'm gonna shut everything else off and I'm gonna go all in on this. And then when they do get that first feedback loop, like, holy shit, I made my first sale. Holy shit, I got my first lead from ads. Holy shit, I got my first, 100 followers, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like you have some feedback loop for whatever it is that you're trying to go after that then encourages you to do more. And you're like, oh, this could work. And then as soon as that turns on, you can get obsessed with it. If I had you sign a contract right now to be that you'd be guaranteed that you'd be a millionaire in 10 years, but you couldn't make any real money between now and then, would you sign it? Every person I've asked says yes. And so maybe if you are listening to this and you're nodding your head, it's like, okay, from 30, I'm a millionaire. Yeah, that sounds like a great deal. By the way, that's like 0.00 whatever 1%, like no one is. But if that's you, a lot of stuff takes much longer. And the problem is that when you're 20, you've only been an adult for like 3 seconds. And so the thing is that 3 seconds feels like a very long time. But I have this belief that older people are more patient, not because they're actually more patient. It's just because your perception of time speeds up. I can be more patient than a 5-year-old because for me, 1 year is not 20% of my life. So my perception of time shrinks. I might have the same patience as a 5-year-old. It's just that more time passes. And so if you are younger, then you have to just understand that your perception of time will speed up. And so you will be able to exhibit patience. You'll keep being able to do something else in the meantime because the meantime will pass faster. And so you have to over-index on it when you're starting. I mean, I've got guys on my team who are like, hey, what's my next career move? And they're like 30 days into their job. And I'm like, give it a second. Like, you still suck. Like, you went from suck to proficient. Like, you're not great yet. Calm down. The real world's very different from school, which you've already, if you're watching my stuff, you already kind of have an idea about that. But I want to give you more of the behavioral definition around it. Is that with school, you have very clear directions and a clear outcome with a clear timeline, and you get a grade immediately. So that's kind of like the reward or feedback loop, right? Sometimes it's pop quiz, same day, next day you get the feedback loop. Or even you finish the quiz, you go outside, and you're like, hey, would you answer for 6? And you're like, oh, fuck, I got it wrong, or whatever, right? But the thing is that the world is completely opposite of that. And so the thing is that beginners are paralyzed to make a decision because they assume the real world works like school and only has one right answer. But reality is that there are many right answers with only one wrong answer, which is doing nothing. And that's the answer that most people pick. So I was talking to Neil Patel, who's a friend of mine, and he just made this big tweet about this, but he and I had a conversation about it earlier. He has 2 friends. One who's a public CEO, founded a company, took it public. He's got another friend who founded a company, took it public, took it back private, and then now only does private deals. The guy who does public and made all this money public is like, you gotta go public. And the other guy who took his company public and it was a big mess and then took it private again is actually richer than the guy who made his company public. Both those guys are billionaires and both gave advice and they had differing advice. And so I don't see it as one is right or wrong. It's that there are many right paths, but only one thing will prevent you from achieving all of it, which is the only thing I'm trying to conquer in this video is getting you to not do the one wrong path, which is fear. Fear of not making it work, fear of other people's disapproval who don't matter anyways, that you aren't cool anymore, or because you don't show up to social events, or because you don't blow money on stuff that doesn't matter anymore, or you're not wearing the brands that they think are cool. Is all of that worth you for the rest of your life having the crushing feeling of mediocrity knowing you could do more? And I can describe this because I've lived it. That's why I say it. I'm not saying that stuff's not going to happen. It absolutely will happen. It might even be worse than you imagine. But you will not die. And if you use the frame, does me losing all of these relationships and having more time increase the likelihood that I get to my goal or decrease the likelihood that I get to my goal? All of a sudden, when you use the goal frame of the best version of you, all of a sudden it starts to make things a lot clearer. It's like, no, me going to this bachelorette party does not increase the likelihood that I hit my goals. And I'm not saying that you have to make that sacrifice every time. But the thing is you're making a sacrifice either way. You're either sacrificing your goals or you're sacrificing that relationship. And so some of you guys are like, oh, Alex, that sounds unbalanced. I'm going to get a couple, comments from the fucking online therapists of like, I think emotional well-being and mental wellness is super important. Well, first off, the pendulum's swinging back. No one gives a shit about the soft stuff anymore. Thank fucking God. But at some point, everyone who wants to achieve great things realizes that balance is a myth. And once they realize that, they become someone who achieves great things. At some point, every person who wants to achieve great things realizes that balance is a myth. And once they realize that, they become someone who achieves great things. And so there's this whole misnomer, this whole idea. Think about what mediocrity is. It's about being in the middle. It's the medium. It's being right in the middle, right? Balance. But anybody who is imbalanced is another way of saying more focused on the one thing will be better at that thing than you. And the question is just whether or not that thing that they choose to be better at will give them more leverage over all that other stuff later. And so if you work very hard and you create something that's very valuable for society, I promise you, you will be able to find a hotter wife. I promise you, you will have the money that you want. I promise you, you can buy the time that you want to have. You will have all of that at your disposal. But if you choose the balanced life, there's nothing wrong with that. I just see that there's balance over a lifetime rather than balance at every moment of life. And so you might have seasons, like I took basically a year off during the last year of gym launch. I just didn't really do a lot. So I had more time than anybody and money, right? But I had seasons before that where I didn't take any time off. And so I think if you expand your time horizon for what balance really means, so this is a softer way of explaining it, then I think that will, make you sleep well at night. But real talk, I work all the time because I like to do it. And I think that once you get a fast feedback loop with the work that you like that also propels your goals, then you're not going to do anything else. And it's not like I or some of the people that, it's not like the people that you look up to have some sort of Herculean work ethic or discipline that you don't. They like things that happen to also bring them status. And that means that they went through a small period where they started doing that thing when they weren't good at it and it didn't bring them status, but they were able to make it through that bridge until eventually it did start working and did bring them status, and then they just kept going. So you just need enough gusto to start and just get through that period, to just get through your friends saying you suck for a little bit. And everything you start will not be fun because you'll suck, but getting good is fun. Getting better is fun. And so I get excited a lot of times when I see how bad I am at something that's new because I have enough generalized reinforcement for learning how to get better at things that you learn the skill of getting better. Like that's a meta skill. You learn how to learn. And so just see it as an opportunity to learn how to do anything better. So if you have a first thing, then that's the first thing that you get better at. And then you'll learn the skill of getting better and you can apply it all over the place. So if you're a business owner and you'd like to scale, I'd like to invite you out to my headquarters for one of our scaling workshops where we help identify and solve your number one constraint. So you can start the year with lots of momentum. And so if that sounds at all interesting, click the link below, book a call with my team. And if you're a fit, we'd love to see you out here. Some of you guys are listening to this and you're like, okay, this is great. I'm feeling awesome. The thing is that people, maybe it's you, are waiting for this perfect moment, but it doesn't come, right? It happens the moment you decide that you're fed up with waiting and decide to take action. And it only becomes the perfect moment when you look back on it, because today it just looks like now. I had a conversation with a young man yesterday who said, listen, I have demons. And I was like, bro, you don't have fucking demons. I was like, shut up. And he was like, so the thing is this, and I was so visceral with my reaction because I used to say that kind of stuff. Because I thought it made me hard. I thought it made me complex. I thought it made me mysterious. But you don't have demons. You're not self-sabotaging. You don't have mom or dad issues. What you have is a lack of skills in how to behave in a certain condition. So when you say you have demons, what it really means, if I say, okay, what do you mean by that? Define that. Define having demons, right? Most people say that they don't mean they actually think they have spiritual demons inside of them. I'm not even gonna touch that. What they really mean is that under these conditions, I behave a way that is not ideal. And so what that means is you have a skill deficiency. No shit. You're inexperienced. Of course you have a skill deficiency. You don't have demons. You don't know how to be consistent. You don't have, I just can't stay with anybody for a long time. No, it either means you have really high standards, which is fine, and you haven't met that person yet, or you just don't know how to behave consistently. It's like when I have a sales guy who's like, hey, I'm 30 days into this role and I'm getting kind of bored taking sales calls. I'm like, oh, your ability to not be able to continue after something gets boring and learn to love the incremental improvements, the 100 or 1,000 repetitions, is the skill discrepancy that you need to overcome. The best salespeople, bad salespeople try and have a couple good days. Good salespeople get on hot streaks. Great salespeople never get cold. And so that takes discipline to understand how to consistently get yourself hot, how to consistently treat every sale the same way you do when you're on fire. Because there is no being on fire. It means you simply behave differently. It's not like you have magic. You pause differently. You take longer spaces. You ask the question. Your tonality shifts. And those are skills because you can learn them. And so this whole thing of like, this is this young man, I'm traumatized. First off, you don't even have a fucking definition of trauma, all right? Trauma is a permanent change in behavior from an aversive stimulus, meaning something bad happens and forever it changes how you act. Now, if we understand that as the definition of trauma, is trauma bad? Well, if I touch a stove and then I never touch a stove again when it's hot, is that trauma bad? It permanently changed my behavior from an aversive stimulus. Is that trauma bad? Well, it prevented me from burning the house down, from permanently damaging my hand in the future. No, I would say it was good. And so this whole appraisal of your past being tough, or you don't understand, bro. No, and no one cares either. They don't understand, nor do they care. And so all anyone is going to care about is how you act, how you behave, what you do based on a series of conditions. And so you just need to expose yourself to the conditions so that you can get the repetitions, so that you can learn how to overcome it. The thing that determines whether it's good or bad is whether it creates a behavior that's conducive to your goals. And so that means that fundamentally you can have a stimulus like touching the stove that creates a behavior that is conducive to the goal. In that way, trauma was good. So, by the way, parents, when you punish a child, the hope is that you traumatize them, is that you permanently change their behavior from an aversive stimulus. It's just that people don't define words and they just shout them all over the place. Say it's stored in your body, it's energy. It's like no one even knows what the fuck that means. Show me on someone's body where it's stored. Do me an x-ray. Show me where this, no, come on. Like you're saying you're storing your emotional trauma from your father in your liver. Like I can just say words and make things up and get people to nod if I say them with conviction. It doesn't make it's true. And so you may have been fooled because sometimes it's more convenient to say you can cast your power onto this thing that happened that was outside of your control as the reason why you can't be successful, because it's easier to say that than to say that I chose not to do anything about it anyways. And again, listen, you can do whatever you want. You can just keep wallowing in that. You can keep saying that that's the reason, and wherever you point is where your power is, right? But the only time that you have more power is if you say it's on you, period. Because all of those things may have happened, and they may have all been terrible.
I want you to get it done.
And what are you gonna do about it?
Oh, I
right?
have 10.
No, but I'm
Because the only no one cares.
Of course you have 10. It's my money.
Like the world doesn't care. You care, which is fine, but like no one else does. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can start doing something about it.
Good work.
And so, also think about this as the equal opposite. If trauma can create good things, then it also means that good things can create bad behaviors. And so, if you win the lottery and then you have all these behaviors that happen afterwards that are negative, then was it good for you? Like we talk about these rich and privileged kids because it creates behaviors that actually make it less likely that they achieve things later. And so, just think about what occurred and what behaviors you take as a result, and separate good or bad from it, and just think, does it make it more likely that I hit my goals? It makes life a lot easier, and then it stops you from speaking in voodoo, and speaking and appealing to mysticism and magic. Like there's this force around demons. It's like, dude, no. Like you had a girl who cheated on you. Okay. Now, what does that change about your behavior? I have trust issues. No, it just means that under these conditions, you are slower to give someone access to your bank account, or slower to move in with someone, comma, who cares? And is that a bad thing? And so I'll walk you through a 3-step framework that has been unbelievably valuable to me. And this is from Dr. Kashi. Logic, evidence, utility. Logic is, what does that mean? So you have demons. Okay, what does that mean? Define it in terms of behavior. What does that mean? Okay, got it. Now, how do you know that? Evidence. So you say, I have demons. We unpack that, and it means that for you, you self-sabotage, which again, define that. Okay, it means that I show up late to meetings after I get into a job after 2 months of being on time. Okay, so after 2 months of being on time, you start being late to stuff. That we translated from I have demons to I self-sabotage to that is the behavior that occurs. Got it. Now, I would say, how do you know that? Now, a lot of times people are like, well, it's happened. But when you actually look at it, you're like, it happened 3 times over in my last job. Okay. Is it really a problem as you define it, or it happened in those 3 occurrences? Okay. Got it. So now you know. Now, most times people are like, I don't have any data. And you're like, okay, so then this is basically made up. And when I say made up, I'm not saying it's like you are a liar. I'm just saying that humans work in narratives. And a lot of times we add narratives, stories, to things that don't actually mean anything. But it's convenient, and it's fun, and we like talking about it. But it doesn't mean it's true. And so then you move to the third one, which is, and so what? Utility. Who cares? Why does this matter? And so
Put your usage
then
on.
you say, okay, well, this matters because it decreases the likelihood that I will be able to retain future employment. Fine. Then what do we do about it? And so you can walk through things that you have struggled with in the past with simply saying, let me define this in terms of behavior. What evidence do I have that this is actually true now that I've defined it based on these things? And who cares?
Sure.
I have demons in the kitchen, all right, just as a completely ridiculous example. Okay, well, in my past, I've had bad things happen, bro. Like what? Like what occurred? I touched the stove and it burns me. Okay, great. Now we have some evidence.
What?
How many times did it happen?
Huh?
One time. Okay, and it never happened
What
again in the future. Okay, what did that result in? I don't go into kitchens anymore. Okay,
It should have
now
defined it, right?
this is good or bad. When
Okay,
you say
good.
who cares, it's in relation to what? My goals. Does you not going into the kitchen prevent you from achieving your goals?
Did it work?
Well, if you want to
Did
be a
it go
chef,
through, right?
yes.
Okay, good.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, no. If you want to be a kitchen entrepreneur, probably, right? And so the question is just, who cares? Why does it matter? And so much of our time and effort goes into explaining things to people that don't matter at all, that you could literally just move on from and just literally forget about. You could get over that quote trauma by changing the behavior that it changed aversively. So in this context or in this condition, I behave this way and it's not conducive to my goals. Great, that's good that you've identified it. Cool, so what do we need to do so that when you're in the condition, how can we increase the likelihood that you do act the way that you want to? And then you start stacking the deck to start shifting the pendulum in your favor. And you start attacking each of these little problems from skills that you have, whether it's behavior with people, or it's skills at work, or with a relationship, and you just do it one by one by one. And if you do it over a very long period of time, you get better. I promise you, and I'm saying this as somebody who, I struggled with my demons. You don't understand, bro, like I have stuff. Like, okay. But it doesn't help you. And it also doesn't make you look harder. It just makes you less capable. Losers talk about what happened to them. Winners talk about what they made happen despite it. Hardship is a reality for losers. To winners, hardship is just your origin story. And like, I promise you, if you can use this frame, like I was texting Layla the other day, like the bigger the monster, the more epic the hero. It's the story that you're going to someday tell. When you're 85, you're not going to want more boring stories, right? The idea is that if you're going through hardship now, that's the story that you're going to tell. And if you believe yourself to be the hero that you want to someday become, then the harder it is, you're like, bring it. This is my story. This is the Spider-Man getting bitten. This is him getting beat up by the bullies. This is the origin story. No one cares about a hero who never had it hard. I bought a lottery ticket years and years and years ago when I was in college, because it was like a billion or something like that back then. That was when $1 billion meant something. But I was in college, and my girlfriend at the time, I was talking to her, and the drawing was that night. We bought them for fun. We bought one ticket. I wasn't expecting to win, but it was just basically I was buying it for the conversation. And I thought about it as like the drawing got closer, and I realized I had this big pain of anxiety, because I was like, what if I win? And I had this moment of terror, because I realized that if I won, that I would never be able to achieve anything that anyone thought was my own. And that thought terrified me. And thankfully, I didn't win the $1 billion. And I got to make the life that I have. And so I think Epictetus says this, but it's something to the degree of, what a shame it would be for someone to never encounter hardship because they would never be able to see who they are. And so I think that if you have gone through hardship, or you are going through hardship, this is the opportunity to prove to yourself, not anyone else, that you are who you say you are. And you are made of what you say you are made of. And you can choose to allow that hardship to make you harder, to make you more resilient, to make you more persistent, to make you more relentless, to make you more driven towards whatever you want to do, or whoever you want to be. Or you can allow it to be an ankle weight. You can allow it to be your trauma, right? That is your demon that you're fighting every day. And the thing is like, everyone has demons. Everyone has hardship. And I want to tell you this frame that'll hopefully change someone's perspective, which is that your hard stuff may have been harder than other people's hard stuff. But if I take a human being who's never encountered anything, and then I poke them with a needle, that will be a 10 out of 10 hardship for them. And so I believe personally that humans experience pain the same way. It's why when a man feels disrespected, it hurts just as much as someone else going through another crazy hardship. And you know what? Even if that guy's white, a 10 out of 10 pain still feels like a 10 out of 10 pain. Now, could that pain be less on the absolute scale of worst scenario? Yeah, it could be. But also, who cares? And so my point here is that every single human being on earth has gone through their version of 10 out of 10 pain, which normalizes pain across the spectrum, which then leaves you with the only natural thing you have left, which is, what do I do now? And if you wanted to design the perfect version of you, the savage competitor, the gladiator at the end of the life that has the scars and the scraggly beard, but has been through shit, has done things, and has realized their potential, what would you do to maximize the likelihood that you become that savage hero? Would you give them the padded lifestyle? Would you give them the immediate win? Would you give them the easy life? Probably not. You would probably put you through what you're going through right now to become that person. And so why would you resent the chapter you're in because it's a requirement for becoming who you say you want to be? Let's say you've gotten over your little demon thing. And when I say gotten over, you just stop giving it power by saying it now is the reason that you can't be successful. Awesome. So what do you do now, right? So you got to start figuring things out. And that figured out muscle is probably the most powerful muscle you can build. It's just like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I will figure it out. Why? Because I figured out things in the past and I can do it again. And if that person can do it and they're no smarter than I am, they have 2 hands and a brain, I can do it too. So the next time that you say you can't figure something out, just set a timer for 20 hours and actually try for 20 hours before you quit. What you'll often realize is it's not hard, you just haven't even tried yet. If you can shrink the time between saying you want to learn something and beginning to try the thing, and extend the time before you say, hey, this is hard, then you will be able to accomplish way more than you think. You can learn most things in 20 hours. The problem is that most people delay the first 20 hours by years. And if you really measured yourself by the amount of action you take, not your desire, not your deservingness, or even your effort, you might actually be embarrassed because what you're looking at is reality. It's about what you do, not what you say you're going to do, how much you want the outcome from what you're doing, how much you think you deserve the thing that's going to happen after you do it, or how hard you try. Because 1, no one cares. 2, reality doesn't care either. Because the only thing that matters that you can control is input. And you would be absolutely astonished at what you can accomplish when you give yourself no choice. Every third time I do a Q&A, I get asked the question, what keeps you going when things were tough? Like, what did you think about? And I could come up with something that was really compelling, but the honest truth is I just never considered quitting. It was just not on my choice of options at the table. Because for me, the idea of going back to Baltimore as a failure was so much worse than anything else that I could encounter that it just wasn't even a consideration. And so the only natural option I had was to persist, was to endure, was to continue. And so I think if you use that frame as, there have been people who have gone through significantly worse than what I'm going through right now. And for those of you who claim the demon card of like, I've been through shit, then prove it. Was it worse than this? Great. Then you can prove that it was so hard by being hard now. Across time frames in history, across countries, across cultures, across age groups, across race, gender, everyone respects the man who works. Because as men, we are always judged by what we can do. And if you are doing things, then people know that you are contributing. That is how you prove utility. Work ethic is the currency of respect. If you want to earn respect, you earn it through work. And sometimes that's working on yourself, that's sometimes working on a skill, working on a project, but it is all through work, through effort. I will tell you something that shifted my life, which is that entrepreneurship is not a game of best man wins. It's a game of last man standing. And there's a lot of games that are like this, and fundamentally that's an infinite game frame versus a finite game frame. And I will read you the quote that Layla had framed and put in my office. Ask the girl, shoot the shot, launch the business, run the ad, quit the job, take the risk, because when you're 85 years old and on your deathbed, you're not going to wish you had fewer crazy stories. The fastest way to become confident is to build evidence. Build yourself a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Here's exactly how to do that. This is brutally honest advice to my younger, less confident self. Having an epic story is about asking the girl, it's about shooting the shot, it's about launching the business, it's about running the ad, about knocking on the door, quitting the job, taking the risk. When you're 85 years old and on your deathbed, you're not going to wish you had fewer crazy stories. You're going to wish you had taken more shots. Don't build confidence, build evidence. Confidence comes as a result of evidence, not the other way around. Confidence without evidence is a delusion. It's you beating your chest, looking at yourself in the mirror, trying to pretend you're something you're not. Do it so you get the confidence, but don't think you need confidence to do it. So the whole idea of fake it until you make it should switch to walk it before you talk it, right? Prove it to yourself so you don't need to prove it to other people, and let your path do your talking for you. Until you win, effort always goes unnoticed. Get used to it. If you aren't willing to suck, you're never going to get good. Losers stay losers because they aren't willing to lose. Confidence is also domain specific. So you can be really good at public presentations and really bad at talking to girls. It takes a lot for a skill to transfer between domains. And so if you want to get good at the thing, don't try and do something to the left of it. Just do the thing. The first sales consult I ever took, I didn't close. And I say that because everyone just imagines that Mosey just came in just slinging credit cards and stacking bodies, right? It didn't work that way. I came in, it was a 5-minute conversation. The girl was like, I need to go get my card from home. And I said, oh yeah, okay, go do that. And she walked away and I went to my boss. He's like, how'd it go? I said, oh, I closed her. And he was like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, you got the credit card? I said, oh no, she's gonna come back with the card. And he literally stopped what he was doing with 6 other guys around him, and they all nonstop laughed for a minute straight. Like they couldn't breathe because they thought how stupid what I had just said was. But I had no idea. And so that was my first ever experience in sales. I'm known for sales now, and I wouldn't even say I'm confident in sales. It's just more like this is what works and has worked for me. Take it or leave it. And so people perceive that as confidence, but it's simply just based on experience. And confidence comes from experience. What it really is a prediction. What you think is going to happen will happen. And so even in statistics, what is your confidence metric? This is 0.7, 0.8. It's literally just what the percentage likelihood that what you think is going to happen is going to happen. And so how do you increase the likelihood that what you think is going to happen? Have it have happened already. I could have either spent 30 minutes every day looking at myself in the mirror and telling myself I was going to be a great sales guy, or I could have reviewed the fucking script. Which one do you think would make me a better salesperson? Reviewing the script. You can take all the time that you're trying to spend psyching yourself up, and you'll feel significantly more confident not having done that and simply knowing what you're going to say, which you get from practice. The world belongs to those who can keep doing without seeing the result that they're doing. And the longer you can wait to see the result of your doing while still continuing to do is the extent to which you can win big in life. For example, to be a top 1% podcaster, you have to upload 21 podcasts. 21, top 1%. 90% of people don't get past 1. 9% don't get past 20. And then 1% of podcasters, of all of them, make it to 21 plus. So when people say try harder, it usually just means don't give up. The price for excellence has never been so low. People give up so easily now that it's just so easy to win by just being willing to post 20 times. You're in the top 1%. Like, I'm at the top 1%. We're not even talking 10, top half. Top 1%. People are so afraid of being humiliated. They get the long-term humiliation of never amounting to anything. No one's going to watch your first 20 episodes anyways. And even if they do, it doesn't matter because that's not what you're building towards. Like, you posting those 20 isn't what you judge yourself on. You should be judging yourself on the difference between your first one and your 20th one. Are you better? Probably. And the difference between your 20th one and your 100th one. Because the win is you. You are the asset you're building, not the downloads that you get on your first shot. Mosey immediately had a podcast with millions of downloads every single month. No. I spent 4.5 years making 2 podcasts a week straight. Didn't miss. And guess how many podcast downloads I was getting per month at the end of that? 2,000 to 3,000 downloads a month. Not a lot. I used to think to myself, okay, well, each one of these podcasts gets like 200 downloads. Well, 200 downloads is like an auditorium of people. And so would I feel okay giving a speech to 200 people? Yeah. And even before that, when they was getting like 10 or 15 downloads per episode, if I had a little lunch and learn that I used to have to do to like get leads for a business, I'd be fine talking to a group of 10 or 15 people because the reality is that those people are doing me more of a favor than I'm doing them. They're literally giving me their ears so that I can practice my voice and how to talk and how to present. And it was only at year 4.5 to 5 when things started taking off. You know what the 2 things that changed are? One is I changed it from gym secrets to just the game, which was a business thing, so it made it more applicable to more people. And the second thing, here's the real one, is that I sold a company for $46 million. And so people are like, oh, what does this guy have to say? And the big thing that everyone misses is people try and dissect my content. The message is 10% of how people consume it. 90% is the context around the message. So Elon Musk can tweet on the toilet and be like, I'm on the throne taking a shit, and it'll get 1 million likes. Why? Because it's Elon Musk and he's the richest man in the world and owns 3 of the biggest companies that are most innovative of all time. I don't kid myself and think that like my content is so much better than other people. There's plenty of people with better content than me that don't get the same views. And the reason is because they don't have the context. They don't have the proof. And solve for the proof, and then the content will take care of itself. Because one, you will know what you're talking about because you have proof that you know what you're talking about, and people will believe you. Which is why you should solve for evidence above everything else. Like, evidence gives you the confidence. If someone says, Alex, I don't think you know shit about business, I'd be like, okay, it doesn't really affect me. I do know we crossed $100 million in net worth at age 32. I know that. But if someone said that to you, and you haven't accomplished anything, you don't have anything to stand back on, and it hurts you more. But I have proof. So it's like, you just deflect it towards the proof and keep living your life. The secret to longevity is, especially in the content game, but really in any game that you're trying to at least help other people with, is that if you've done the thing, you can be certain rather than confident. Be certain based on what you've done, not based on what you say other people should do. There used to be too big to fail, and I think there's an alternative, which is too good to fail. If you make your stuff so fucking good that only one person who gets exposed to it sends it to somebody else, then you have nothing to worry about, and you will eventually get discovered. It's a time game. And in the meanwhile, you just keep getting better, which is the point. Because at the end of the day, you're going to die. Everyone's going to forget about you anyways. And so you might as well just work on the one asset that you get to keep for the rest of your life, which is you. And rather than measuring yourself based on how many views he gets versus how many views you get, measure yourself by how much work he puts into one of his shorts versus what you put into one of your shorts. And then you might think the output is more reasonable. And if there's a top sales guy in your organization who's making more money than you, compare not what his commission check is to yours every month. Compare how many calls he's making, how many times he practices the script, how many calls he's made before you, how many sales he's closed before you, what time of day he shows up at work, what time of day he leaves, whether he works weekends or not, whether he's willing to hop on the phone in a family context so that he can still close the deal. If you're doing all the inputs, the outputs will always match on a long enough time horizon. And if you are new to the game, then my recommendation is not only to match inputs, but to double or triple the inputs that someone ahead of you is doing. And the reason you do that is because if you just match your inputs, then you're always going to be behind them because they're already ahead of you because they're better than you. And so if you both do the same amount of work, they're going to keep getting better and so are you. So you have to do twice the work. You got to be like Kobe, right? Where everyone else is doing 1 practice a day, you do 2 practices a day. And in the beginning, they'll be better than you. And then you'll match them. But because you're doing twice the work, eventually you'll get better. And then that's how you win. And one of the biggest misnomers in whatever endeavor you're trying to track is people track the wrong metrics. They track the lagging metrics rather than the leading metrics. Lagging metrics are what happened. Those are the outputs. And if you want to track those, fine. But the real things to track are what you're doing to create the outputs. So I don't want to necessarily even track sales. I want to track how many calls I'm making. If I'm trying to get in shape, I'm not necessarily going to track the weight I'm doing. I'm going to track how many calories I'm eating. And so the more ways you measure, the more ways you can win. And so the idea, the ultimate win at life is where you can shift things that are out of your control that you deem winning to things that are under your control, which you can deem winning. Because if you're measuring on whether you lost the fat or not, sometimes people take longer, some people don't. That's something that you actually can't control. What you can control are the inputs. And so if you say, based on this, if I do this one thing every day for a long enough period of time, I'll eventually get there. The real winners cut out the I'll eventually get there and say, if I do this every day.
Bless you.
The thing that I try and focus on now is the delta between how hard I tried and how hard I can possibly try. And if I know that the gap between those two is 0, then I have won. And I've decided to spend an inordinate amount of effort trying to make that my definition of winning, is that there's nothing left in the tank. If you get into a harder career path, or one that takes more reps to get good at, or more reps to get into, then every day you can win based on saying like, everyone else does 100, I do 250, and I have nothing left to give, I won. And that should satisfy you. And if you're obsessive on the external thing, that takes too long and you will give up too soon. One of the things that took me too long to learn was the difference between the finite and infinite frame. And so the finite frame is where you have known players, agreed upon rules, and a way to win or lose at the end, and the game is over. In infinite frame, you have known and unknown players, no agreed upon rules, and the point of the game is to keep the game going. And all the greatest games that I've ever participated in, marriage, health, business, you don't win at marriage. The point is to stay married. You don't win at health. The point is to stay in shape. You don't win at business. The point is to stay in business. And so by default, if you don't give up, you win. And so that's the big frame shift, which is why leaving everything on the field is the way you have to define winning if you want to win in the long term. And anything worth doing takes great time. If you stick with it and you make that the win, you'll notice that the external win will just happen on its own. And if you really commit to that perspective, it won't even mean much to you. Because if you make that everything, it's the same thing with the guys who win the golds and then kill themselves, or win the championship and then go to these massive depressions. It's because they're playing the wrong game. When Kobe was asked shortly before he died, like, do you think that you're somebody who's afraid of losing, or do you think you're somebody who loves winning? He basically denied both frames. He said, I'm paraphrasing, I just love playing to the best of my ability. And that's what he measures himself off of. The fact that the world chooses to measure him on the fact that he's won so many games, that's the world's problem, not ours. It's saying, I'm game master, not a player, and I choose to play by these rules, and as long as I am playing, I win by default. And it's because I'm not accepting the world's rules for winning, I make my own. An easier analogy here is, and this is a Eval quote, he said, what looks like work to other people should feel like play for you. If you look at an artist and he's painting, you're like, hey, how soon are you gonna finish that painting? The point for the artist is to paint. He'll finish that piece and he'll start the next one. But the process of painting is the thing that they enjoy. And so the idea is that if you can commit, and the broader you can generalize what you're committing to, the easier it will be to stick with it. So you might be like, I love making calls, but I hate entering things in the CRM. Well, both of those are required for the role of sales. And so I prefer to chunk up a level and say, I prefer to do hard work because of what that work does to me. Then, whether I'm putting shit into the CRM or editing a document or having a hard conversation, all of those things are difficult, and I see those as all contributing to the person I ultimately want to be until eventually I die and it won't matter anyways. And so the only asset that you really get to keep with you is your character, and that's the only thing you keep building. And so if you make the character the W, at the end of the day, did I not contribute to the character of the person that I want to become? If that's the W every day, you can never lose. If you have your menu option of things that you can do in life, just remove quitting as one of them, and then try your next idea. And if you are in that Rocky cutscene, and you're 2 months in, 3 months in, remember that the Rocky cutscene in the movie lasts a couple seconds, and the Rocky cutscene in real life might last a few years. And so whenever I get to a low point where I think, why do I even bother doing this? I just like to remind myself, this is where most people stop, and this is why they don't win. And as hard as this is going to sound, the best thing that I ever did was not listen to other people's opinions about my life. They don't want the best version of you. They want the version of you who best serves them. And unfortunately, the closer people are to you, the more similarly they'll see themselves and you, and the more your success will make them feel bad about themselves. And I can promise you this from somebody who might be a little further. I have more people who root for me now that I've already won than people who rooted for me along the way. No one is doing as well as you think they're doing. So by comparison, everyone is better off than they think. Because the cumulative median visually is probably 3 times higher than what the actual median is. And so if you're like, oh, I'm average or slightly below average compared to the perceived median of society, you're probably way above average. And that's okay. And being above or below average doesn't even matter anyways, because you've got a lot of innings left. There's a lot of quarters left to play. And so like until the day you die, you still have hope, you still have a chance, you can still keep moving forward. Whenever someone gives you their opinion about what you should do with your life, it's really them saying, this is my preference of how I want to live my life. And I say, great, live your life that way, and I'll live my life this way. Because me living my life has no effect on you. So live your life the way you want to live it. And I don't want your life either. They make those statements because they feel uncomfortable, and so they have to like release it, and so they say that to you to make themselves feel better. And that's their problem, not yours. I think I've learned a lot of frames around not caring about other people's opinions out of necessity, because I was so crippled by the opinions of other people for what felt like such a long time that I always had to face my death in order to get myself to move. And so I talk about death a lot because it has actually been one of the few things that actually motivates me to change my behavior. And so when I had done all the things that I thought would impress other people, one, I realized that they didn't really care. And secondly, I realized that I deeply cared about how much I hated my life. When I was like, is this what winning feels like? Because if this is what winning is, then I don't want to play. By thinking I'd rather be dead than continue to play this game, I was forced to change the game I was playing, which is like, well, what is a game that I would like to win at? Well, I'd like to win a game that is by rules that I set out, and there are things that I can control. And then those people, because you break their mold of what they're supposed to be doing, and they might be miserable too, but they are not willing to take the risk that you're willing to take because they care about other people's opinions more than you do because they haven't gone through that little journey that you just went through. Fine. You do it your way, they do it their way. I mean, I went from prodigal son, my father's super proud of me, graduating Vanderbilt in 3 years, president of fraternity, vice president of powerlifting team, management consultant, to minimum wage employee. Like, that's a pretty significant drop in status. I have these frames because people will say whatever they want, but for me, that relative drop in status was a lot. I went from about as high status as you can get as a 22-year-old to about as low status as you can get. I mean, I remember having people be like, so did you go to college? And I was like, yeah, I went to college and I fucking murdered it and I did everything. And because the implied question is, why are you here? And so that's what, in the beginning, hurt a ton. But then I just realized that they just didn't know. And they were asking genuinely. And all of my judgment around that was just my own problem. How I'm perceiving this question is affecting my mood to such a great degree. What if I applied this to every question? All these people are asking me things, and I'm either getting offended or getting complimented, but the statement doesn't change. So that sounds like a me problem. And so the more I started diving into things like that, the less bothered I became by everyone else's opinion, because they also have no context. Even if they did mean it as an insult, so what? If they're saying, well, I'm better than you, I'd be like, yes, you are. A lot of even really successful people frame their success around trying to prove someone wrong, right? But when you try and create your entire existence in opposition to someone, you actually give them complete control over your life. It means that because of the things that this person has said, I will choose to change all of my behavior, which basically means that the directives from that person have commanded you to do whatever you do. And if you like to be a free person and want to be somebody who acts of their own volition, then I choose to accept insults so that I can live my life rather than living in contrast to them and giving my control to the person who insulted me. That would mean I put me changing your mind above my goals, which I don't. My goals are more important to me than changing your mind. I'm super sensitive to I am statements, labeling statements like this. Like, I'm a neat freak. I'm the type of person who. So whenever you're dating someone, you're getting to know someone, people like to blanket I am statements really early on to set the stage. Like, I'm the type of person who likes to show up early, I like to clean things, I'm a labeler, I'm a whatever. And then, and this is the insidious part, they then say because. And then they insert a reason that they made up or that sounded good in the past and people nodded their heads and agreed with. Because my mom never loved me enough. Because I didn't get enough hugs. Because